State of Colorado, a natural disaster of massive proportions there. The death toll stands at 3 going into the night after widespread flooding. It has knocked out power, closed roads, forcing hundreds of people to move to higher ground.
We have had steady, if not pounding rain all day long.
They have yet to account for the whereabouts of many of those living in the flood zone, potentially cut off by roads left either impassable or that have been washed away.
When the water came through, it came through as a torrent.
Even where the roads are still technically passable, the scramble for higher ground has been terrifying.
7.2 inches of rain fell in less than 24 hours, an all-time record. With thousands forced to evacuate, many were trapped by washed-out roads. It started overnight with little warning.
The Boulder County Sheriff says about 200 people are still unaccounted for.
We're assuming that some of them are still stranded. We're assuming that there may be further loss of life or injuries. We have to assume that.
We're saving some dogs right now.
The damage is still being tallied, and the danger isn't over yet.
I'm Dale Rademacher, the Director of Public Works and Natural Resources for the City of Longmont. As we all know, the floods of September 2013 have caused great destruction in our community in Longmont, as well as many other communities around us, both within Boulder County and up and down the Front Range. Today I'm going to give you a brief overview about the damage that has occurred in our community, specifically that damage that has occurred to the public infrastructure throughout the community, and predominantly along the St. Vrain and Lefthand Creek corridors. And so as I start, I want to just give a brief summary and an overview of the different parts of the city's infrastructure that's been damaged. And so in our parks area, and our parks and trails and greenways and those wonderful nature areas along our community, our estimate is around $20 million of damage has occurred. In our sewer utility, our sanitary sewer utility, about $2.6 million of damage has occurred, predominantly in a sewer interceptor and at damage at our wastewater treatment plant. Our storm drainage utility and infrastructure has probably been damaged to the greatest extent of all. We're estimating those damages at around $90 million, with the biggest chunk of that the damage to the St. Vrain River and the channelization and the need to stabilize the banks along the river. Our street system has also suffered significant damage, predominantly in bridges that cross the St. Vrain River. Those damages are now estimated at around $4 million. The water utility has been hit very hard as well, mainly on our raw water supply system coming out of Ralph Price Reservoir and Button Rock Dam. Total cost estimates into the water utility are around $25.5 million. Our golf enterprise fund has also been damaged, in particular the Twin Peaks golf course. It was the course that was damaged that the floodwaters actually went across Twin Peaks golf course at about $250,000 of damage to the course. Our electric utility also suffered damages to areas, and we had several lines that were damaged, about $840,000 of damage. We've also had damage to the city's fleet infrastructure to the tune of about $350,000. So as you can tell, the total is significant for our community, totaling upwards of $148 million. I'm going to talk to you now a little bit about some of the specific areas that have been damaged, and I'm going to refer to the map behind me. And so starting on the west, the city owns Ralph Price Reservoir and Button Rock Dam. Those are our two main water supply features. The city gets about 2/3 of its water supply out of the North St. Vrain, and as of today, in October, we are unable to take any delivery out of those systems. Ralph Price Reservoir has a serious problem with debris, trees and rock and other material that has flowed into the reservoir through North St. Vrain Creek, and is of great concern to us, because if that debris moves across the reservoir and gets to the spillway, we could block the spillway and cause additional damages. So we are working very hard to get access into the reservoir to start to address that issue. I mentioned the issue of access. So the city maintains a portion of Longmont Dam Road. It's also County Road 80 that comes from US Highway 36 and travels about 5 or 6 miles up to the reservoir. That road has been severely damaged and is gone in many areas.
This is the road to the Longmont Dam in the North St. Vrain.
And so the city is working very hard to attack that issue from two points. We're going to come in at the north end, near the reservoir, and then also at the lower end off of Highway 36, and begin the effort of rebuilding that roadway. Our first work is going to just simply be try to establish a very rudimentary road that will allow access. We also have county residents that live along this road that rely on that for their access. So as we move from Ralph Price Reservoir and Button Rock Dam, our diversion is at Longmont Reservoir. That is where our north pipeline takes water out of the St. Vrain and delivers it to the treatment plant.
There's Longmont Dam. This dam is filled with all soot, debris.
Trim right a little bit.
Longmont Reservoir is completely full of debris at this point. The gravel embankments are over the top of the dam. I've never seen that in my entire career here at the City of Longmont. And so we need to do an emergency dredging of that reservoir in order to resume a delivery of water. The north pipeline then travels from that reservoir into and through the town of Lyons. And as it comes through Lyons, it has also been damaged. The pipeline has been exposed. It is literally laying in what used to be the underneath the highway where the river is breached. And so we are actively working to inspect that pipeline and to try to maintain the integrity of that pipeline so that when we can start to divert water, it'll be able to deliver it to our treatment plants. And so as we continue through Lyons, we also start to come upon the irrigation ditches that are along the St. Vrain River that divert water to the farms around the city, 50 to 60,000 acres of farmland that are irrigated by these diversions. The city also relies on those diversions to divert water to our golf courses and our parks and our greenways, as well as to our treatment plant. And so those diversions are critical. Many, if not all of those diversions have been destroyed and need to be rebuilt. That, again, is another monumental task that is underway, and Longmont is not doing that alone. Longmont needs to do that with the ditch companies that own those diversions. We also need to do it in partnership with the county and the state and the federal government in order to get that project and those diversions rebuilt.
We're at the head gate for the Oligarchy Ditch, right at the St. Vrain River. This right now is completely dry, and you can see there's a bunch of fill to my right here. They did this in an effort to save the McIntosh neighborhood and North Longmont from flooding. The head gate has been moved downstream and exposed the river to this ditch, which normally is a controlled flow. So by filling this in, they were able to shut off the water to the Oligarchy Ditch, saving those neighborhoods, diverting the water back into the St. Vrain River. To restore this, it's going to take significant work. The head gate, again, is just downstream here. It should be sitting where I'm standing now, and it's going to be a tremendous effort and fairly costly to get this back into its original condition.
As we come into Longmont and at Airport Road, many neighborhoods were impacted by the flooding because the river breached the channel west of Longmont.
Okay. Yeah, but that's where it breached at right there.
Yeah, look at how just all that.
There's the dry area supposed to go.
Dry area.
We are working with the county and with the state of Colorado, the Army Corps of Engineers, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, as well as FEMA, in order to look at the river channel to the west of the city and to do those projects that are necessary to ensure that we do not have flows coming through those neighborhoods into the future. As I move further east along the river, we start to get into the stretch of the river near Golden Ponds. the ponds have been breached. There's been severe damage to the ponds, and in particular the spillway.
Golden Pond structure over there. Can you zoom in on the dam part? It's been breached.
We're at the southeast corner of Golden Ponds. This was the spillway that led back to the St. Vrain River. And you can see from the flooding that all that water came through this section and tore out our Greenway trail, tore out the spillway, and literally opened up this pond.
These areas are closed. They're closed to the public now. They will remain closed to the public until we can make them safe. And that is going to take us some time to do. And so, please, everyone, stay away from these areas until we can make them safe. As we move from Golden Ponds, we also start to get into the St. Vrain Greenway. The Greenway has been damaged to the tune of $10 to $15 million. It took us 20 years to build the Greenway. It took nature 1 day to destroy it.
We're on the Greenway again. We're facing towards Hover, or to the west. And as you can see, at least 100 yards of Greenway is missing. We had a beautiful trail along this bank of the river, the north bank, and the trail and bank have been eroded by the flooding. And much of our Greenway trail is now laying in sections in the river along this section of pathway.
We are working very closely as I speak with FEMA to begin that process of identifying the areas of the Greenway that we can reestablish the soonest, and to get those underway and to get construction moving on those. As I continue to move east through the city, I come to the area of the Isaac Walton clubhouse and Isaac Walton Pond. It's one of our favorite fishing ponds here in the community, where many youth have had the Chick Clark Fishing Day. Unfortunately, the embankment of that pond has been breached, and right now the river is running through the pond. We have to also get in there and reestablish that embankment and protect that pond, as well as to protect the business park to the east.
Still quite a bit of mud down here.
We're at Isaac Walton right now, and we're on the Greenway Trail on the east side of Sunset. And behind me is a former levee for Isaac Walton Pond. As you can see, that levee has been completely washed or eroded from the flooding, and it exposed Isaac Walton Pond to the river, and right now it's almost drained. The berm, the former berm or levee around Isaac Walton is completely gone, and our section of trail around Isaac Walton Pond connecting to Boston Avenue is completely gone, and that's at least a half a mile from this location.
As the flood came through, it breached through the pond, it flooded that part of the city. We crossed Sunset Bridge here. Sunset Bridge is breached. The bridge is damaged. The bridge needs to be replaced. The city and the county are working together in partnership on that. The city is actually going to take the lead, even though it is a county-owned bridge, because it is an important bridge that's right in the middle of our community. And so Longmont is going to be taking the lead on working with FEMA to move that project forward. So as I continue down the river, I come to the point of the railroad crossing. The Burlington Northern Railroad, they've actually reestablished. We're all hearing the train noises again because the trains are running, which is a good thing for commerce in the area. But that railroad was severely breached. And as the floodwaters came through, it continued to inundate these areas of the city, predominantly in the industrial business park areas between First Avenue down to Ken Pratt Boulevard. We also have many residents that live in that area as well. In the West St. Vrain and the Royal Mobile Home Parks, those folks lost everything, and it was very damaging to not only their property, but to their way of life and their homes. And so we are working with those residents as well to try to reestablish what we can. As I continue west, I come to the South Pratt Bridge. That bridge needs to be replaced. Main Street Bridge needs to be replaced.
We're at the Main Street Bridge along the Greenway Trail. Again, the flooding in this area is just an example of the flooding that went on all around the city. The riverbank has completely eroded the structures under our greenways. They've eroded the levees around ponds, and just to the south of it, or correction, just to the east of us at that bridge, the bridge is still standing, but the roadway or the bike path and the levee on either side of the bridge has been eaten away by the river, and the river has actually changed directions at this location and is flowing into a pond that was previously protected by a levee.
A good bridge that we have is the Martin Street Bridge that the city just built a couple of years ago. That bridge was able to pass the 100-year storm, and it was actually, in fact, one of the first north-south roadways we were able to reopen immediately following the flood. East of Main Street, through what was the Dickens Park area, the river also breaches its channel at that point and is flowing through the ponds. This causes us several problems. One is that it has moved the river several hundred feet to the north, and it is also several feet deeper than what it used to be. And so that's a problem for the irrigation ditches that divert in that stretch. It's also a problem for trying to reestablish it back into its original channel. So we're going to work closely with the Corps of Engineers and with other agencies to decide what is the best route of the channel through that area. A big concern with us, though, is that the current route of the river has it directly pointing to the wastewater treatment plant. We've got to do everything that we can to protect the city's wastewater plant and to ensure that it isn't breached and damaged any further. We have sustained some significant damage to the tune of about $2 million at the treatment plant in the form of flooded buildings that have been flooded, electrical work that has been damaged, and a final clarifier that is damaged to the point that we've had to take it offline. As I continue to move east, again, the Greenway throughout this entire stretch is destroyed. We are putting up fencing at this point, again, to protect the public and to keep folks from inadvertently going into a dangerous area. And so that work is underway as we speak. As I continue east to 119th Street, the city has worked to reopen 119th Street after the flood, and so that roadway is reopened. Our trailhead, however, at the Greenway is still closed and is damaged in a way of flooding, not necessarily structural damage, but the flooding damage in that area. As I continue to move east and I get into the area along the river from 119th Street out to County Line Road and then into the city's open space land, the river is out of its channel entirely from County Line Road east out to where it crosses underneath State Highway 119.
We're at Well County Road 1, and this is the former banks of the St. Vrain River. As you can see now, it's completely dry. The river has actually shifted approximately 50 to 60 yards to the south, and this is one example of many.
Again, that's going to be a significant challenge for us to try to redirect the channel back into its natural stream to the extent that we can. There very well may be some stretches of the river in that particular reach that we allow nature to take a new course and a new channel. And if we can do that in a way that doesn't damage and threaten private property, and in a way that is conducive to our long-term use of that property as open space and for the public's enjoyment, we're going to also consider that. So let me take just a couple of minutes on Lefthand Creek. Longmont also experienced flooding on Lefthand Creek at the same time as we had flooding on St. Vrain Creek, which was a historic issue for us. The city just completed its Lefthand Creek flood control project earlier this year, and we're very thankful for that. We believe that it largely protected a good portion of the Southmore neighborhood, but not all. Homes, there were several homes that did sustain some flooding damage along Lefthand Creek. The thing that's most concerning for us, or is very concerning for us on Lefthand in particular, is at Kanemoto Park. And at that park, we are seeing significant damage to the swimming pool area. The river has, Lefthand Creek has eroded into the park, and that bank is incredibly unstable right now. to the point that it's getting close to our pump station, so it's damaged the irrigation system of the park in addition to the pool. We're also concerned that we protect the Tower of Compassion that is in that park as well. That's a very important aspect of our community, and we're going to work to make sure that that bank is stabilized. Those are costs. So the huge costs to our storm drainage utility are in the arena of river stabilization and channelization efforts. We know in Longmont we can't just concern ourselves with the river as it passes through our community. We have learned through this flood that we need to look west. We need to be equally concerned with what the river is doing to the west of the city, because if it takes its course again and decides that it wants to run through neighborhoods as opposed to its channel, we need to be working with the county and all those other federal agencies to ensure that that doesn't happen to our community again. And I think that gives us an overview of the significant highlights and damages that have occurred in our community, and both the opportunities and the challenges that we have going forward. It will take both federal and state and local dollars to rebuild our community and to recover from this flood. And it will also take time. This is going to be an effort that's going to take us not months, but years of reconstruction to fully bring our community back to the condition that we were prior to the flood, and I hope to a condition that is even better than what we were prior to the flood. Thank you.